This microphone's working. We tried to do a Q&A next door earlier, but it wasn't so great because the mic didn't work. So anyway, I hope you can all hear me clearly tonight. We have a better sound system in this room. And I hope you enjoyed the film. Thank you very much. It's fantastic. Thank you. It's great to be back in Berlin, of course. I always enjoy coming here. The tickets sell faster in this city than any other city. So I guess with the history we've all had in Berlin, Depeche Mode and myself, we've come to expect to see a lot of people, and it's great that you always come and support what we do. So I'm very happy to be back, and I love Berlin anyway. So thank you for that. I don't know how many of you have seen some of the other Q&As that we did. I just make it up as I go along, really. There's nothing too much to tell you that you don't see already with the film. It's obvious what it is, so I'm not going to explain it all again. You probably know the story of how it got made. To me, that's the most interesting aspect of this film, is the fact that it was made out of pure love, really, with the help of so many different people who did it for free, really. The people who did the artwork for the Blu-ray, and of course the filmmakers themselves, all their crew, they offered all their services pretty much for nothing. And so in this current climate of music that we have, and the difficulty that artists have selling CDs and record companies and the problems that the industry faces in general, it's very heartwarming for me to see that there's plenty of people out there with passion and that are prepared to put their efforts, you know, where their mouth is, and make something happen out of pure will. And I think between us all, this project was able to work because of that. So I have to really tip my hat and say how grateful I am to the filmmakers themselves. And of course we did our bit, and between us all we worked very hard to sort of then work in the post-production process to make the thing actually get released and get it out to you people, and you know, that's it really. That's all I have to say about the film itself. So really I'm here just to thank you. I'm just here to answer any questions anyone has. You can fire away and I'll do my best. I just want to say we also have Paul Kendall in the house. Where are you, Paul? And he has a very interesting new hairstyle that he wants to show to you. Put it this way, it produces its own lighting effects, the hairstyle. So maybe we'll bring him out. He's hiding now. Look, where are you? And another person who's here tonight is Daniel Meyer, who I really love. We've had a great relationship for the last couple of years. He's supported RECOIL on many of the live gigs that we played with his brilliant architect music and much more besides. So he's going to be DJing next door, and he's also coming with us tomorrow to the Sound Edit Festival, which is in Lodz. So it's a very busy time, and I'm happy that so many people have turned up. There's a few other familiar faces to me here tonight. Remixes for other people. I always listen to ideas and see if it's something that excites me, and if it does, I'll do it. Okay. Any more? You're very quiet, very reserved. Yes, sir.
Where does your inspirations come from for a new song? Started with a bass line, or what?
Yeah, it's a really difficult question to answer because I never really know is the answer. And, you know, to be inspired, all I know is that you have to put yourself into the position where you can allow something to happen, which means going to the studio, switching those machines on and trying to do something. It's very rare that I sit in my bed and suddenly write a symphony. That just doesn't happen. So you have to create the circumstances, you know, for ideas to thrive. That's it, really. I mean, I just don't know. It's but I was saying this in the other room earlier on. You know, part of the fun for making music for me is the experimentation and not really knowing where it's going to end up going. You know, and from that process, even though it can be very frustrating and you're fishing around in the dark, sometimes a piece of magic just happens. We don't know why, and that's the most exciting part about making a record for me. So it's not, I don't sit down and write a song, you know, I haven't done that for many years, I haven't really tried to do that. I just start working on music and some sounds, and maybe Paul might come up with some strange loops or something and say, look, you know, what should we do with this? Or you just never really know where it's going to come from.
It's a question of discipline as well.
Discipline, making yourself work, get in there and actually do something, yeah, that's quite right.
Yes.
I'm very happy because I thought I have lost my telephone. Sorry, I found it and I have wrote some questions in my telephone.
Well, I'm very happy for you. We've all done it, you know.
And your telephone says...
Really neat.
If you don't like it, just say next question.
We'll pass.
Okay.
Okay. Let me start with a very easy question.
Okay.
Do you like McDonald's, Burger King, or pizza?
None of the above.
Alright. What some of Depeche what you don't like?
It's called A Heart Is My Least Favourite. It's well known that I was never very keen on that one.
It was actually, I remember, because it was actually recording, I didn't really have a lot to do with Depeche Mode, but I can remember that particular track because it was recorded in a garden shed in Reading, in Berkshire. Yeah, and it was a really bizarre, you know, at the time, I was looking after Daniel Miller's synclavier, which was a really beautiful piece of equipment, very heavy. And I'd take it to places like Hansa in Berlin and Puck in Denmark. And then I got asked to take it to a garden shed in Reading. And it was, I just thought there's something wrong. And there was obviously something karmic about this garden shed, because it was a really crap track.
You said that, I didn't. It wasn't one of the greats, let's face it. And what was frustrating for me was we also had Flies on the Windscreen as another track we were working on at exactly the same time, which was considered by Daniel Miller and the rest of the band to be a B-side, and I was arguing, look, this is such a great track, it's so much better than the one we're calling the A-side, can't we just turn it over? And we released them the other way round, and they never really sort of understood that at the time. Maybe I think with retrospect they might agree now. And we also had a record plugger called Neil Ferris, who didn't help matters either. So.
The video was particularly bad.
Yeah, it wasn't a great video. What does your phone say now? Oh, that's not, no, we don't want boring questions, forget those.
One question is, perhaps I didn't have read any books, but where did you live in West Berlin? Where did you live?
I never lived here, I stayed here at the Interconti Hotel. Martin lived in Berlin. He actually moved
He's
out.
the short blonde one.
Okay, this next question, what do you think? If you go to Martin Gordon, you say, hey Martin, can I have one stay and one tour, just one tour? What do you say?
Can I have one tour? That's not a question I'll be coming up with, I don't think.
We spoke 5 years ago, and you said, oh no, but then you came to Albert Hall. You will remember Albert Hall?
Ah, Albert Hall, yes, yeah. Well, that wasn't a tour, that was a one-off event, and yes, they asked me to do that, and I think everybody knows really what happened, and that it was a really special evening, I think, because it was just a bit different for them. It was nice to see them doing something else, doing a charity event, just doing something that, giving something back, I suppose, and I was happy to be a part of that when they asked me to take part. So that was nice, but you know, that's kind of all we needed to do really, and I think it worked well. Anyway, your phone's had enough. So, yes?
Are you still using open suiciders like the Amateurvideo or the for your
Yeah, I seem to actually use less and less gear these days. And because I guess the technology allows you to do pretty much what you need to do within the computer with Logic and I mean, I've always enjoyed samples. Now, obviously, you can just record live audio directly and you don't really need the sampler. Although the sampler can provide a different way to sample audio or present your sampled sound, as opposed to putting it directly as recording of audio into, say, Logic or Pro Tools or something. But I tend to be a little bit lazy. I don't enjoy the learning curve of new equipment, because I find it very frustrating if you've got an idea of some kind, anything you want to try out, if the technology gets in the way of that, I get immediately frustrated. I haven't got much patience. And there are many times when I just think, oh bollocks, I'm just going to sit down and play the piano. I don't want to go through all this. Why is that not working? Where's the MIDI cable? You know, what happened to that, you know, effect? You know, oh well, Logic's decided not to play that one back. And, I mean, we've had how many millions of conversations have we? You know, where we're just tearing our hair out. Well, some of it. And so anyway, so I've reduced my equipment down to sort of the bare essentials, and I tend to stick with what I'm quite happy with. You know, he's more experimental. What have you got that's new, Paul? What can you tell us? Come on.
New equipment.
For the show together. And
Yes, I mean.
or have you a small or special parts for feeling live?
Yeah, I think I understand what you mean. Well, the thing is, we've never made any pretense that what you saw on that stage was anything other than really a presentation of the music rather than a live band. You know, it's nowhere near a live band, that's very clear. And I guess if I were to do it again, maybe we would probably incorporate more live performance. But at the time, I guess I was too cautious, and I wanted to make sure that the music that was presented would be a very accurate representation of what RECOIL sounds like. So I wanted to prepare the music in such a way that it would work for an audience in a live venue, but it would be very accurately representative of the sound. And the sound, as we know, is quite sort of complex. It's not easily performed by a bunch of musicians. So if we were to take a bunch of musicians on the road, you wouldn't get what you hear there. You'd get something else, which could be great, but it would be something else. So we made no pretense. We said this is a presentation with film of music to which we add certain effects and elements of performance, but no more. And so that's what we did. I think if you talk as a performer, probably it's not fulfilling enough. And if I were to do it again, if RECOIL goes on the road again, I'm not sure how it will be, but I would hope that we'd be able to add many more performance elements and make it a bit more live, really live, you know. So this was something kind of itself.
It's a sort of payoff between the visual and the audio, because the visual was so highly sort of developed. The audio couldn't really sort of, you know, go away from what the visuals were doing. I mean, I think that's
Yeah, up to a point, yes. I mean, they are interlinked, you know.
Yeah.
But then again, many sort of live performance productions are kind of linked into the visual side of the show. So I guess we could have done a bit more. But as I say, it was kind of designed to be what you see. So we're not trying to hide that fact. He does
my dancing was quite good though.
He did a lot of dancing. I'm joking, obviously. Have a gun at home. There's been a few others along the way. And I also like from the earlier period things like Never Let Me Down and Stripped and Walking in My Shoes. So there's plenty of good Depeche Mode tracks out there. The venue for this, and I was surprised because I always imagined in Berlin, well I know in Berlin there's many good theatres and places that would be very appropriate for this, but we just had trouble finding one that was available for the right kind of higher price. Some of them are very expensive to hire, and we were always on a kind of budget with this. It goes back to what I started out by saying, that, you know, this kind of film a few years ago I could never have afforded to make, you know, with the modern technology, modern cameras, and people that have been willing to work for free have made it happen. And it's the same thing that we now encounter with playing or showing the film. You know, we try to keep the ticket prices very reasonable for people that have invested in the Blu-ray, and so we can only afford to hire certain venues, and for the right, and to make it work, we have to make it work, make the budget work. So this was a good compromise. The people here have been very helpful, tying it in with their festival over the last couple of days, I think. And you know, this is what we managed to find. But it's been very varied. You know, we played a fantastic old cinema in Prague the other day, which was an amazing place. You know, and there are one or two other fantastic venues that we've managed to get in there for the right kind of price to make it work. So I guess that's part of the fun, is that each one is completely different, really. Yes.
You mentioned the visuals, and I would like to know, I mean, when I watched your live show, I felt really sucked into the music even more by watching these visuals, and I wanted to know how important are they to you, and how much are you involved in designing them?
Yes, we had 4 different filmmakers for the stage show visuals that are not related to the people who made the final film you just saw. So the original filmmakers, again, are people that have come to me over the years and expressed an interest to work on the music that I've made, and again have offered their services for next to no money, and just because they wanted to do it. Like I work with singers and writers that come into the RECOIL project, I also take the same approach with filmmakers. In other words, I don't dictate to them what they should do. I give them a sort of rough framework. Obviously, in this case, I give them the music, but I don't say to them, you must make a film about this and that. You know, I ask for their ideas and I respond to that. And if I like the direction, then I encourage them to do more in that direction. If I'm not keen on direction, or I think it's good but there's some parts that are wrong, I'll give them that feedback. But I try and choose people that I think have talent in the first place and let them interpret what they want to do, you know, to the music. And it gives you just interesting and different results, I think. It's quite abstract. It gives enough scope that you can change the music and the film can still work. So it's, yeah, that's really it.
Do you recognize also today, or today they're completely different compared to decades before?
Well, people often ask me about specific concerts, and for me the memory of playing concerts tends to be a more of a generic feeling and memory, but there are some that do stick out, and Berlin in '86 would be one, because, was it 86 or 88?
87.
87? 88, I'm sorry, he's taking issue with you. 88.
I wasn't born then.
I do remember that one because it was a unique thing for the time. You know, I don't think many bands had played in East Berlin at that time. And we had heard a lot of stories about the popularity of the group in that part, you know, of the world, or in Eastern Europe in general, in fact, not just Germany, but you know, many other countries too. And we kept hearing the stories that you're so popular in these countries, you must go there. And of course, many bands at that time just wouldn't do it because there were too many issues, too many problems. They didn't have the right equipment. You get paid in funny money. You know, endless logistical nightmares, visas, police problems. You know, and so most Western groups just said, "Oh, I can't be bothered with that." But we just heard about the audiences and about the people that were interested, and about how everyone was sort of buying the music or getting hold of it and listening on cassettes or whatever they could get hold of in the East Germany and other countries like that. So we took the plunge and we played that show, and it was one of the most incredible audiences. I remember people, as we drove up in the coach, I remember the lines of people outside, and just that reaction alone was enough to tell us. And, you know, even the police were kind of part of the crowd, you know, and taking off their uniform and trying to get into the gig, because it was very difficult to get tickets. I believe there was a lot more demand than there were actual tickets. The legacy of having played all those concerts in Eastern Europe is still with us today. You know, I benefit from it now. Depeche Mode still benefit from it greatly, because people remember that time. And I think they appreciate the fact that we and a few other groups, but not many, made the effort to come and play. So there are, of course, certain shows that stick out for those kind of reasons that I remember. Any more? Yes.
It's a question to Alan and Paul. What are your favorite synthesizers and near-field speakers?
Near-field speakers. That's tricky. Near-field speakers probably would be Dyn Audio's BM somethings. I mean, I'm not very good on these technical things. It's that big. And they sound. Yeah, so that's near field. Synthesizers. That's a really difficult question. You know, it's funny because I've sort of throughout my life seemed to have been linked with synthesizers, and I actually don't really like them. The only synthesizer I liked was one that wasn't connected to a keyboard, and I think they ruined synthesizers when they put keyboards on them, and so it would be the VCS3, the old sit-up English synthesizer, strangely enough. Very, very basic, but that's what I learned to make sound on. So yeah, that. I don't really understand Oberheims and Moogs, and they're too complicated. And then plugins, obviously.
Well, I bought this new desk, and the pre-fader is not happening.
I did sell a mixing console to that man, so you know I had to let him in tonight. What is it, Francois? Yes.
I wanted to speak about guitars.
Guitars.
Yeah. Most of your guitars are sampled or played by a guitarist, and who is it?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I use quite a lot of performed guitar, and then usually just loops that I've collected from people I've worked with. When we made Liquid, I started off by hiring a group of musicians and asked them to just jam and play loads of different stuff, and we recorded them together. And then ever since then, I've been pillaging, you know, taking those old recordings and just reworking them, stick them in a sampler, reverse them, and then ask Paul to put them through some strange effects. And then, you know, it's like regurgitation. So the source is often guitar, but the end result can be something very stranger, you know. Yes. Isn't that so?
We never used any of the bass from those bizarre sessions.
Norman's bass was a bit...
But the drums have been well used. A guy called Monty, really splendid drummer. And the guitar was quite interesting, but the bass, for some reason, is not happening.
For me, it's quite inspiring to have a lot of source material to kind of rework and restructure. If it's got a good inherent feeling, you know, or feel and good performance, whether it's drums, guitar, vocals, it's nice to have that material, but then completely turn it into something else and adapt it to other piece of music that I'm working on. If I've got lots to play with, I'm kind of happy because, you know I can just chop it up and I'm not searching around for some new sound to work with.
And what are your sources? CD or?
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. It's better for me if I've got some live performance, somebody's played something for me, you know? And then I can just take that, put it into the computers and chop it up and you know, rework it into something completely new. But I know that the source material is the original material, so I don't have to worry if I'm sampling somebody else's work or something like that, you know.
And could you speak about time? How much time did you spend in the past, certain tracks, certain songs, and today?
Yeah, well, I'm slow generally when working, really slow.
Because it's cold.
Palindrous, I think the word is.
We are both quite slow, in fact, because we pay a lot of attention to detail, and I think both of us feel that the detail is really important and it needs to be absolutely correct, you know. I mean, he thinks I'm slow, but if I give him a vocal take to work on, he will literally draw the level of every syllable of every line, and he'll DS. He won't DS, he'll draw out sort of S's in a sentence to make sure that, you know, that doesn't become too loud. And he can spend days and days just on a vocal track, you know. So both of us, I think we...
Tragic people.
Yeah, we were very sad. Can you not tell by the sort of grey colour of his face? Too much time in the studio. Anyway, so yeah, it's never quick. Some tracks are a bit quicker than others. Jezebel was quick. Somehow that just worked fast. Others take forever. Most of them take forever. I'll just probably keep making music in some form or another. But whether it's just another album or whether I get more into film, I would like to get more into film work maybe. But yes, you know, you have to juggle it with your life, and my life can be quite complicated sometimes with children and families and houses and things that you have to organise. But I think I will, for the time being anyway, I want to keep making music. You know, that's what I might love most. Okay, well, I think we better leave it there because that was quite a positive note, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very up.
So I just want to thank you all again for coming along, and Paul, and everyone here. I hope you enjoyed it tonight, and thanks as always for your
Enjoy
support.
the DJs.
Daniel Meyer, next door. I'm going to be around to sign. We've got some Blu-rays if anyone still needs them, and I'll be around to sign some stuff if people want that and do some photos or whatever. So we're going to try and set that up now, I think, and that's it. So thanks again. Good night.